All right, guys, we're back with Tailgate Talk. We're going to be talking about your biggest buck to date. Happened to be this last season. Um, Pretty interesting story of how it all kind of unfolded and where it started and how it ended. So, kind of tell us a little bit about it and where it started.
So it's kind of crazy. The story, when you first initially hear the story, it sounds like I'm after a totally different buck, and I started out that way. And we'll just dive right into it now. So during the spring turkey season of 23, Pat and I was out at our farm hunting. It was a slow day. We were just walking and calling, and we seen this block of pines. And we was like, man, let's go check the pines out just to see. Maybe it's hot, sunny. Maybe we'll catch one in there trying to get out in the shade. And as we're walking through, we find this intersection. It would just look like, just highways of deer trails just intertwined and went through, and they all were kind of crossing in one point. I was like, man, well, I got to put a ground blind or something in here, or just, let's put a camera up first and just to see. And I put the camera up come June, and lo and behold, I got two nice deer on camera, real wide, framey 8 point, real tall tine, framey 9. Uh, and I was like, okay, yep, this is it. We're gonna put a ground blind up. So, I guess probably mid July, end of July, I really started putting the corn and feed to them. I was running a protein feed. I'd mix in with the corn. I kept on. I said, I'm gonna wait because farm we hunt, we're not allowed to bow hunt it, which is fine. It's okay. So I said, I'll go ahead, come bow season, I'll get my ground blind out, get it all situated. So by the time rifle season rolls around, they'll be used to the blind. And that's what I did. I got the blind it put out, and lo and behold, right across the dirt road where I'm hunting, they were logging that whole entire track over there. And man, it threw that deer, that 8 point, it threw him off completely. Pat, what's your take on what would throw him off?
Yeah, I've been hunting around loggers and stuff before, and it tends to throw off the pattern just a little bit. But to me, of course, the obvious, you got new trucks, new sounds, new smells. It's just going to kind of throw them off a little bit. But I've always found that, you give it a few weeks of that, they're going to get used to that. They're going to get used to that noise, trucks coming in and out, all the sounds of the tractors running. So, you tend to kind of see them fall back into their original pattern, as it kind of progresses through the season and stuff, and they're still logging. They're going to get used to that sound, and to me,
I, I
that's
think
it.
I think you're 100%. For this deer in particular, you're spot on. Lo and behold, it was 2 or 3 weeks later, he showed back up, so I named him Elvis.
Well, you had him on camera across the road as well
I
originally.
did have him on camera across the road. That is correct. There was a peanut field I was over there hunting, and when the landowner told me, I was like, "Hey, I'm about to cut this track. You need to go get your stuff." I was like, "Okay, I appreciate that way nothing would tear up." And I did have him across the road, and that's what kind of got me excited because I was figuring out his track from the camera I had across the road to where I had the pines. And after discussing with Pat and my older brother, we kind of all agreed that he was making like this big circle. Well, when we cut out, so to say, half the circle, it threw his pattern off. And as Pat said earlier, it took him 2 to 3 weeks to kind of change his new pattern. Well, he showed back up in the pines, and that's when I decided to name him Elvis. Well, his running mate, I named Vegas. Vegas was a 9, Elvis was the 8, but I fell in love with Elvis. He was a big body, wide framey 8 point. I was like, that's my target buck for the year. I got to get him. Either me or my son Barrett, we've got to kill that deer. So fast forward back to what I was saying earlier. I'm running corn, running protein. He's showing up. He's starting to daylight, and lo and behold, into September, one of the worst things that I have ever been a part of.
Yeah, probably the worst thing we've ever seen
Here
down here in the South.
Hurricane Helene hit, and when it hit us and it hurt us. And there's a lot of people now, to this day, we're still devastated. There's still a lot of destruction, people without homes. And it was just, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And that's something will never take place. So that's what also made this deer, the one I'm getting into, a little bit more special. So 2 weeks after Helene hit, I just knew my blind was gone. I knew everything was just demolished. I go down to the farm. I take my chainsaw and I had to cut my way in to where my stand was. And I cut me a trail in. And I get in there and I'm like, man, believe it or not, my shooting lane that I had made, it actually had widened the lane out. I mean, it took me a couple of hours of chainsaw work. I got it cleaned up. My ground blind, this is not an ad, but tips off the muddy blinds. I had 3 pine trees sitting on that blind. I cut the pine trees off, popped the blind up, and it was 100% ready to go. I mean, it was perfect. So,
Yeah, and with that storm too, it lasted through 100+ mile an hour winds, so that is kind of a testimony.
I mean, it's not, like I said, this is not an ad or nothing for Muddy. We're not sponsored by Muddy, but tips to Muddy blinds. It took a beating, and I used it all season. So, fast forward a little bit more. Opening weekend of youth rifle season comes in, and Pat and I are in a club up in Lincoln County, and we went to our place, our farm, to shoot the rifles and get everything in ready for the kids. Well, while we're there, I said, hey man, let's go check the pine camera, and I'm gonna put some feed out. Well, I put the pine, we checked the camera, we're out there shooting the guns. Pat's boys are with us, my kids are they're at home, and Pat's shooting the gun. I'm just flipping through my camera, and then all of a sudden I come across a stud. I'm talking about this deer looks like he belonged out west, like in Kansas, Iowa, Illinois. So he was a stud.
Yeah, it stopped me in my tracks. I quit doing what I was doing just to.
I mean, you saw I was speechless. You know, I couldn't talk because I just kind of like here.
Yeah, from around here, I mean that kind of caliber deer, it is definitely something to admire and like you did, you know, turn all your focus to that.
Yeah, so. I mean, I Elvis in Vegas was the last in my mind. They were irrelevant now. And I said, dude, I got to name this deer. I'm going to name this deer Kansas. And we like to name deer to kind of put a backstory with it and a name with a face.
Yeah, it helps kind of create the timeline and the story behind it. So, you know, that's how we keep up with what we're chasing and kind of keeps us on track.
That's right. So that was the weekend before youth season comes in. So I'm pretty jazzed up now. I'm like, man, this is, son, I got to get this deer. And my wife can contest. I focus. I mean, sleepless nights, and yeah. I know a lot of people can relate to. I mean, I know you can.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely kind of engulfs you. It's like a wildfire. It takes over, and you know that's where it hits home, and that's what you focus on, and that's what it's about for us.
So, opening weekend of youth season, I did put him on pause because Pat and I both agreed that weekend was about our kids, and the reason why we didn't hunt the farm at the time, the landowner didn't want anybody hunting because of all the trees and just the devastation we took that took place.
Yeah, they were trying to survey some of the land and just kind of get an idea of the damage.
He just chose best that nobody be out there hunting, which is fine. I completely understand. He was just trying to assess the damage and see where he had to go to get stuff working and fixed.
And from a safety standpoint too, for us it was safer to keep us out, kids out, you know, trees leaning, and you know, so it kind of put a pause on the hunt. I mean, we were concerned that throughout the season of how far along could we get with the storm cleanup to get back into hunting, get it safe where we could go out there and actually, you know, enjoy the land and what God gave us. So.
I will pause on the kids hunt real quick. He did tell me, hey, if you got something on camera you want to get, you know, we're going to eventually hunt at some point in time this season. Keep feeding him, keep going out there. I don't want anybody to hunt, which is fine. I said, awesome. At least I keep feeding him. And to me, I took it as kind of a good thing because it almost created a safe haven for him for a little while everybody else around was hunting. He could feel safe in there and there was steadily food. So we're winding back, youth season. Awesome morning, great morning actually. Pat's son Briggs got to kill his first deer. My son Barrett, it wasn't a second apart. When I say seconds, I mean legit seconds apart. Briggs shoots, Barrett shoots. Bam. We doubled up within.
Yeah, just a few minutes. I mean, it was less than a few
Yeah,
minutes.
it was.
like
I
you
mean, it was
said.
awesome, and just the excitement the kids had. I think I was jazzed up more than anybody, just to see, especially Briggs kill his first deer, Barrett killed a deer. You can't until you're a father and you have kids and they get to share the same passion, whether it be golf, baseball, hunting, cook, whatever y'all like to do. When you see your child and his eyes and enjoyment, and it's the same as you have, you can't describe it.
Yeah.
So that was a great moment.
And it was a good way to kick off the season. I mean, we kicked it off right. We actually got that picture.
That's right.
We got
Yep.
that posted in the GON
The
on their
GON,
website.
yep, on their website. They made their
So-
trophy room, which it was. And the cool thing, it was Briggs and Barrett with their deer. Then they also had it was a group picture with myself, Barrett, Pat, Briggs, and his son Banks.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a family one thing. And
Then it gets the kids seeing it online. It also helps them, it keeps them jazzed up, like you said.
That's right.
It keeps them interested in it, and also it shows everybody else, it can be done. It's hard to do sometimes with kids in the blind with you, but like I said, it was a good start to the season.
And my son Barrett, he's kind of like me. We like bump gums a little bit, and he got to kind of bow his chest out when he went to school to tell all his teachers and his buddies that, hey, me and my daddy and my Uncle Pat, we're on the website, He just, to him, it's the coolest thing ever. So it was pretty awesome. So fast forward to, I guess, opening weekend of our rifle season comes through.
Yeah.
And we're still on pause hunting out there. So we go hunt our place in Lincoln we got, and we see a couple small deer, but just nothing that we were kind of after. I didn't say we're trophy hunters. We just have set our standards to what we like and what kind of gets us going.
Yeah, I mean, hunting's about having fun. For us, it's kind of what you like, and like you said, there was just nothing on camera that really got us going at the moment.
But you never know. I mean, but it's a camera. A camera may not pick up something.
Yeah, that's true.
So it just didn't get he and I like, oh man, we got to do it. Now for the kids, yeah, 100%. We had some nice 8s. We eventually did get a big 7, but we'll kind of get into that story a little bit later on.
Yeah, we can kind of come back to that later on down the road. But
So
this story of Kansas, it's amazing. So
I guess 2 or 3 weeks into the season, I guess it wasn't November yet, or it might have been the first week.
It wasn't quite November. It was still October.
So we got the landowner. He said, "Y'all go ahead and hunt. You worked hard. You got your spot ready. You go ahead and hunt." So I called Pat and I said, "Hey man, we just got to go ahead to hit the farm." He said, "All right, let's go." So Pat and I both get up that morning. It's a good cool morning. Pat's got the camera. I'm on the gun, and I mean it ain't. The sun ain't up yet. We see a frame coming through the woods, and I said, "Oh Lord!" First thing in my mind, "Oh Lord, there he is." I'm already shaking like a leaf. Pat can see him better with the camera, and I mean, I'm jazzed. Like my knees are knocking already, and all of a sudden I hear, "Yeah, but it's not your deer."
Yeah, it was a little disheartening, but it, like you said, it got your blood flowing, and he's always on the back of your mind as you hear the story progress, as we're getting into this thing. Every deer that stepped out, if you just caught a glimpse of a deer, you're thinking it's him. I mean, at any moment it could be.
Even when that deer come from our left, and all we saw was his back, and then all of a sudden he comes back out, and it's just this basket 6. Like as soon as I saw a hind end over there, I said, "Oh my God, there he is right there!" And I just get, because I'm so worked up about this deer, so every deer I see is him.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of disheartening, and you're like, okay, cool. I still see deer, and so we had a good hunt that morning. Saw multiple deer, and it kind of was easing, because now I realize, hey, I am in a good spot. The deer are still coming in here. So fast forward, we had this good hunt, saw some deer. I come back a couple days later to corn, to feed, hunt, have another good hunt that morning. Actually saw a younger deer that would have been awesome for one of our kids to kill. We called him, we named him Cut, because his left ear, he had a gash in his ear was almost split in half. So I checked my camera, Candace sitting on camera. Elvis is still coming on camera, Candace sitting on camera. 2 weeks, fast forward 2 more weeks, I'm still hunting, still feeding, checking my cameras. Candace is nowhere to be found. So it's gone a couple weeks now, Candace has just left the building. He's gone, and I called Pat, and I was in shambles.
Yeah. It was getting a little closer to the rut, wasn't it?
It was getting, and there's something my dad has always said. He was like, boy, if you don't kill him by Thanksgiving, you ain't gonna kill him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of something I've always heard growing up too. I mean,
I think it might be old wives' tale, just these good old boys down in the South that's always hunting. That's just something I think they've heard and they've passed it on, and more than likely I'll pass it on to my youngins.
But I mean, most seasons, not to get too far off topic, but most seasons it kind of holds true for us.
Yeah.
We kill a lot of our better deer. It's a little easier to pattern them.
Around the rut.
But we always kind of fall into, we might lose some deer during this time.
But we'll gain some deer too, though.
We gain some deer, but with a deer of this caliber, you don't want to see them disappear at all. No. So it was a mystery.
It was heartbroken, and I'll never forget this part of this whole story. I get off work one day, and Pat and I followed this CSRA Whitetails and More on Facebook, and I always like to check it every day. I just like to see what people are killing and who's seeing deer. And I get on there, and lo and behold, I see this picture of this boy, and I'm happy for this guy. He killed a deer that looked like Kansas. And I called Pat, and I'm just like, dude, that's my luck. If I had bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck. I mean, even my wife, she felt bad for me, because I was like, the kickers coming off his tooth was in the same spot, same side. I mean, they looked identical.
Yeah, it looked real identical. And me always trying to stay positive, I was having a hard time finding a way to stay positive, knowing this deer might have just been killed, which, great for that guy. But, you put a lot of time and effort into the preseason.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah, it kind of takes the winds out of yourself.
So I actually shoot the guy a message on Facebook, congratulate him, because that's one thing people do get off the track of. Brothers, being in the wood, hunting brothers and sisters, we gotta back each other and congratulate each other. And I come, oh, that joker shot my deer. No, I was happy for the guy, I truly was. So I shot him a message like, hey man, where exactly are you hunting? I think I've got your deer on camera.
Yeah, the description kind of said it was kind of close to where we were hunting.
And he was in the same county, but we were on two opposite sides of the county, and I was like, man, that was the first thing that kind of got me thinking, that's not the deer. I said, there ain't no way.
Yeah, that's a long ways to travel.
That deer traveled this far. So I took a screenshot of his deer, a trail cam picture of my deer. I got an app where I can make a picture collage, and I put them side by side, and I zoomed in, and I looked at every single detail I could find, and lo and behold, I went from 0 to 100 real quick. The beams didn't match, and the way the brow tines went up, they didn't match.
Yeah, I didn't catch it when he sent it to me. They were so identical that I didn't even catch it. So
I called Pat, and boy, I was like, it's back on, baby. We back in business, son. We back in business. And that's when I started hunting him again, but he still wouldn't show up. And I was like, man, well, at least I know he ain't dead this time. Fast forward to the week of Thanksgiving. My kids are out of school. I have to keep my kids because my wife has to work. And my wife said, hey, why don't you go hunt all day Monday? I'll keep the kids because, we had Thanksgiving stuff starting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It just, hunting was out of the cards for that week. She's like, hey, I'll keep the kids, you go hunt Monday. And I was like, baby, girl, I love you, girl. Thank you so much. So I go hunt. Well, like I told you, Helene come through. We finally got loggers to come on to the farm to start cleaning up. And I was kind of down and out about that, but I said, I got this day to hunt. I need to hunt because you can't kill them at the house. So I'm hunting, getting the stands cold that morning. I mean, it's probably in the low 30s. And I'm sitting there, and sure enough, right at daybreak, here come a log truck riding 100, 150 yards behind me. And I'm like, dang it, man, this ain't gonna G-haul. This ain't gonna work. You know,
it just didn't look like it was in the car.
No, it just didn't. And I'm texting Pat, and I'm like, dude, this sucks, man. These log trucks are coming through, which, you know, it had to happen. We had to get that wood and stuff had to get up.
And I'll text you back. I mean, it kind of goes back to where we were at the beginning of the season, where the loggers were logging across the road. I mean, eventually it kind of got back on the pattern, and they had at least a week to get used to it, and they heard them at the beginning of the season.
That's right.
So they were kind of not totally afraid of what was going on, but
and it showed because that morning I texted you, hey, deer just showed up. I had 2 does come in. I was like, oh, okay, you know, cool. At least I'm seeing deer. And knock on wood, I hadn't been skunked at all in this spot at all. I've seen deer at least one every time I've hunted. And as I'm sitting there, you know, the does came in and fed. Log trucks passed by. They kind of ran off. Well, the reason why they ran off was because the log truck 6-point come out bumping does. He was bumping them, and he come out there and he fed. And it was kind of cool to watch him, how he interacted with the sound, and how he got, you know, like you said, got used to him. Log truck passed by, he'd go up from eating, and he would watch him by listening to him. You could see he leaned his ears in, and he followed the truck. And when the truck got down the dirt road out, he went back to feeding, and the more deer come out. And I was like, that's a successful hunt. And
kind of picks your spirits back up.
Yeah, it boosted me up a little bit. And I called Pat when I got out stand. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna put some, I'm gonna check the camera. Kansas is still gone. I don't know if I'm gonna put out more corn. There's still a little bit on the ground. We'll see. And I'm sitting in the truck talking to him, and I just slide through. And at 4 o'clock that Saturday afternoon before that Monday, lo and behold, there's Kansas.
Yeah, he came back. It was I remember getting that phone call and just hearing the excitement in your voice when he popped up on the camera. So
because I was like, hey man, I need you to come down. You need to. Pat had some prior stuff he had to do with his family, so he couldn't. So I was out there by myself, and I talked to Pat and I talked to my older brother, and both of them agreed. Hey.
Well, in that picture, you noticed.
You're right.
At some point in time, he had gotten injured fighting.
Yep, he got injured fighting, and that's when I saw his left eye had been gouged out and his left lip had been ripped. And he was in there that Saturday afternoon, and he came back in there that Sunday morning. And then there I am hunting that Monday, and like I talked to Pat, talked to my older brother, and both of them said, hey man, he's done been whooped. He knows that was his home range. He knows that there's food in there. He's probably came back to heal up. And I was like, I was kind of, in a way, I was kind of panicking because I felt like I was alone, and I wanted my team with me. And they just talking to them eased my mind, and I drew up my game plan. I said, I just need to go get in the stand. They're like, yeah, get in the stand early. You know, tote your bag of feed in there, or take something in there to kind of, if he comes out, to kind of hold him. And I went to town. Got me a little bite to eat, got some corn, and I got in the stand at 2 o'clock. And now the loggers, they're still steadily running. Them guys are working. And I'm sitting there, and I hadn't seen a deer yet. And I'm like, Lee, where is it? Now all I can think about is him. Did I run him off when I was walking in the stand? Was he here? What did I mess up? Did I mess up this morning? Did I get out too early? And all these negative thoughts were rolling through my head. Well, 4:30, 4:45 rolls through, and I don't hear log trucks coming. I hear the workers' vehicles coming by, and I was like, okay, they're knocking off for the day. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm talking about 5 o'clock on the head. I look up, and all I see is rack. And I knew right then and there who it was. I mean, you know, when you've seen a buck you've watched and you see him and you've studied him, it's a no-brainer. You know who it is.
Yeah, you definitely recognize, you know, especially as much studying you did on this deer.
Sure.
You know who he is when he steps out. He makes a presence.
So he stepped out, and the way he just, I mean, it was like, I ain't trying to sound crazy, it was just majestic. And I saw him, and as soon as I saw him, my excitement took over, and me being the goober I am, I clicked the safety as soon as I seen him. I already knew. But when I clicked that safety, he locked right in on my blind. And he, you know, you got to think, he's 50 yards, 60 yards from me.
And that blind was brushed in real good.
Yeah, I mean, I took some time, but it was just that sound, just that different sound. He locked in on it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, what is he doing? And he turns to go to scratch his back. And when he turned, I go to raise my gun up. As I go to raise my gun, he catches me in mid-raise. He snatches his head around, he locks in. And I felt like it was an eternity. And we're staring, and we're staring. And my knee, I can feel my knees just shaking. And he turns his back again. And I get that gun and barrel out the window, and I'm looking at him. And he locks in on me, and I guess he saw the difference in the barrel sticking out or whatever. He went to stomping. And when he went to stomping, I said, it's now or never. I put the crosshairs right on him. K-yow! He dumps. You talking about coming unglued? Oh, my side did I come unglued.
Yeah, I know. I got a FaceTime immediately after. I was sitting there getting ready for our event, and I saw that. I stopped everything. I knew right as soon as I saw his name pop up on the screen, I knew he was down.
I mean, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and
it was early.
That Helene couldn't hardly tear that blind up. I ripped that blind up at the ground coming up on that thing, and I come running down there, and there he laying. And I talked to Pat, and I'm an emotional guy.
Y'all definitely see as we start videoing and doing some more stuff. He is, but that's what makes it worth it.
And just getting to actually put my hands on him, talking to him, talking to my wife, it was just flooded. I called my older brother. He was excited for me. And you can see now it's just reliving the memory. I'm just eat up with it. And I called the landowner, talked to him. And there he lays. All the hard work, all the sleepless nights, the money, just everything, it's right there. And I just sat there, I prayed over him. I just sat down beside him. And now I'm upset because now it's over. Now it's over. It's done. Chapter of Kansas is over. And now I'm mad at him because he ain't there to help me drag him.
Yeah.
And the drag, I mean, you've been in there multiple times.
It's a tough drag, especially with the hurricane coming through. Like
in
you said,
and under trees.
It made it a lot more difficult.
Man. And my dad called me, and I was talking to my daddy, and I got him on speakerphone in my pocket. He's dying laughing because, I mean, Bo, I'm sucking wind. I mean, I'm out of shape.
I think I called you probably 5 or 6 times just to check on you. Make sure you made it out of there.
And I got him out pretty quick because my adrenaline was still pumping. And I picked him up and laid that last drop. I laid on top of him just for a minute to catch my breath. And I got home and to take pictures of my kids and my wife. It was pretty epic.
That's the big thing. Like seeing the smile on your kid's face of the accomplishment you just had. You know, even though it wasn't them pulling the trigger, their excitement and happiness for you, you see how it's kind of passing off, and they're starting to get it as they're growing up.
It's
awesome.
the cycle. It's the cycle, and he is hands down. He was my biggest deer to date.
What did that deer end up scoring?
We scored him a couple different times, and everything. We just call him 130.
Yeah.
Everything. It was either an inch or two above, a couple eighths over. You know, so we just even 130.
Yeah, for us, that's an amazing deer. Any deer we get to harvest is an amazing deer. God gave us the opportunity to harvest that animal, and especially one of this caliber, and reliving the hard work and dedication and the, like you said, the sleepless nights and the studying and all that. There's a lot that goes into it. People may not understand. People who are just getting into hunting, you'll see as you go along, you'll find these deer that just consume you.
And to take it in retrospect, I was spraying my little boy because he was like, Daddy, I'm so happy you got him, but if I was in the blind, I could have killed him. I was like, you're right, buddy, you could have, but, and y'all may disagree. Yes, I would love to see my son shoot him, but B, he wouldn't understand what he did. I'm about to be 37 years old, and I finally took a deer of that caliber. And I have the rack of my very first buck I've ever killed. I call him a 1.5. He's got a good spike over here and a nub over here. And I compare those two deer all the time since I've killed him in November. I look at them side by side all the time. I actually put the other one inside his brow tines. And I show my son, I say, here, this is where you start. This is where you can finish. But I'm not finished. Now I'm just scratching the surface.
Well, that's fuel to the fire. I mean, the hard work. We changed some things up this year. Used a little bit of different feed. It really paid off. The deer really took to it. So it's something that we will continue as we move forward in hunting and stuff we're going to kind of do during the summer to try to keep those deer in that area and interested in that area. I like the changes we made so far.
It's a game. It's what we talk about when we turkey hunt. It's really a game of chess.
Yeah.
It's you strategize. You kind of you take what works. Even stuff we've done in the past on a different property. If it works there, we'll try it here, just to see what happens and what changes, and kind of go from there. And if all right, we did this and they did not like that, then we'll take it out and we'll change something else. But this year was hands down, for deer season wise, the highest and the lowest. The lowest being the devastation that we took on with Helene. A lot of people may not understand, and we weren't ready for it. And as a people, we came together, and you could see God was still working. There was a lot of bad, but He also showed a lot of good.
Yeah, that was a good time.
I mean, it brought you saw it brought people that you never talked to in your neighborhood. I mean, you talked to people you never talked to. I talked to neighbors and helped neighbors I've never talked to, and just it brought people together, and it was just awesome. I can't describe. I'm ready to get him back from taxidermy. Like I can't. Every day, I look at his rack every single day, and I could tell you that hunt story to the day they put me 6 feet deep.
Yeah, and you can kind of go through your trophy room and look at every single rack, every single mount, and relive that hunt. So it'd be awesome to get him back. When we get him back from the taxidermist, we'll have him on the show. We'll talk about him a little more.
Guest.
And who knows? He might become part of the prop in the back of the truck. So,
I mean, because like I said, that we come up with tailgate talks. He ended right here.
Yep, and that's where every hunt we take, before we head out, we're sitting around the tailgate getting dressed. We say our prayer for safety and peace and just a good hunt. And then, like you said, it ends right here.
Good or bad, it ends right here. So
as we move on into turkey season, it's coming up. We're about to run into February here. We'll start going out, doing some scouting, listening for turkeys, and hopefully we'll have the season of a lifetime.
Oh man, we've got youth season. Youth season being first, and
we're gonna try to focus on more of the kids.
More of the kids this year. That's right. We've killed our fair share of turkeys, and it just to see the kids, kill a Jake, Longbeard, whatever it may be, whatever the good Lord presents us with, will be the icing on the cake. And we've got some turkeys showed up in some spots that we've never had turkeys before, and they're staying. We're pretty jazzed up about that. And I thought the turkeys on the farm were kind of going to be hurt because of all the destruction, and during deer season, I mean, it didn't. Yeah. For what you could tell, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be normal, so we should be able to find plenty of birds to get on this year, and we'll see what goes from there. Maybe our next episode we'll talk about the turkey season, what we do to prepare, and kind of our mindset and moving into that. And
talk about, probably, if I had to say on my end, just mistakes. I've made so many mistakes in the turkey woods, man, and
well, that's what makes or breaks the turkey hunter. You learn, just like anything else. You learn from those mistakes, and it betters us as people, betters us as hunters, and it's proven time and time again with birds in the back of the truck. So y'all stay tuned. We'll bring you another one.